It's hard to imagine the quality of life that you can have when your property is surrounded by over 60,000 acres of usable conservation land. Moving to southern Missouri is the best thing I've ever done for my family. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. We have a fairly new listing in Summersville, Missouri, and it is such a dynamic piece of property. Because not only is it a great little hobby farm, it's set up as an equestrian facility. It has so much potential as like an Airbnb equestrian kind of side hustle, and then also surrounded by over 60,000 acres of conservation land. So the address to this property is 9418 State Route D in Summersville, Missouri. And as always, all my information is in the description, and you can always get the MLS listing from me. So we're gonna first talk about how it makes an amazing hobby farm. So the current owners have sheep and lambs on the property right now, but obviously it would be great for cattle or anything that wants A+ grass, and I truly mean A+. The majority of the land is in pasture, and the grass is so beautiful. It has been lovingly maintained. Like literally the pasture is free of weeds. It is fertilized and it is just gorgeous. And I don't know what it is about Summersville. In fact, if you know the area, like if you're one of the Eminence or Summersville folks, or if you go up there and ride, is it just me or is it just always greener up there? I'm thinking that they get a little bit more rainfall up there because there's all these like little microclimates and sub-microclimates in southern Missouri. The other day we were supposed to get rain, we got none, and Mountain Grove got like a torrential downpour and we didn't get a drop. So it's like that here, and I feel like Summersville must get more rain than everywhere else because the grass is like vibrant green still, and it's pretty much turning into fall. But not just that, it's what I like about this grass, of course, like especially considering like the rotational grazing and the regenerative ranching, is that there's so many different varieties of the native grasses that are there, and they're just so healthy, and you can feel it in the root systems when you walk, like you're walking on like a thick mat of grass and roots. And that is the first thing that makes this an absolute wonderful hobby farm. The next thing that makes this a great hobby farm is it's already fenced and cross-fenced. It's got 3 gorgeous ponds that can serve as waters, also has some waters set up as well, and it's got a lot of outbuildings. We're gonna talk about the 2 large barns, but there is just so much on the property, real turnkey kind of property. And kind of moving from the hobby farm into like the equestrian focus a little bit more, the barns are phenomenal on this property, and one of them being so large that it's actually serving as an indoor riding arena. And if you guys are like me, man, you can really appreciate how much farther you can go with training if you have that indoor riding capability. It is actually one of the things that we're really suffering with here where we live. We fell in love with a house, and the property is kind of all just a steep hill. Now we have figured out how we can get creative, and we're gonna put in a round pen so that we can at least like get that kind of, that training, the groundwork before we ride or before we implement kind of a new aspect of riding and training. It's really, really important. But when you have that indoor riding arena and you've got a good foundation of what you're doing with groundwork and riding, there's so much that you can do. Man, I drool over it. When I go over there, I'm like, I want one of these. And what's really nice about the other barn is it's set up with stalls and then has a huge portion that's open that you could put down pallets, stack with hay. I mean, there's all sorts of other stuff you could do. And then it has a huge, it's right now a tack room, but it could be almost like an office, all electrified, and just a really nice big space in there. So a really big I would say like a 40 by 60 that is very usable and set up in a really dynamic way. as well. Continuing with the equestrian aspects of this farm, there's also 4 RV hookups that actually used to be a small business. So this property actually still has the sign, and you can find it on Google Maps as Spirit Valley Resort in Summersville. It's actually kind of in between Summersville and Eminence, which is really nice, and we will talk about where it's at and how close it is to so many amazing things. But yeah, the fella that owned it was super successful because, for those of you that know, Eminence is like an equestrian epicenter. There's so many big trail rides that go on. They just had something like 900 riders up there for, it's like a several day ride. It's called the Cross Country Trail Ride of Eminence. And it attracts people from all over the country. It's actually kind of a big deal, and they have several of these. But beyond that, there's just a lot of riders that consistently come throughout the year. So that's where, okay, so now we're blending the equestrian lifestyle with kind of, the side hustle and, maybe enough income to like cover a portion of your mortgage kind of concept. In addition to the 4 RV hookups, there's plenty of room on this land to develop like small cabins for Airbnb. Now, there's so many different things that could draw people to wanting to come to those rentals, which of course the equestrian kind of Eminence, trail rides and all of that, that's a huge focus. But also right connecting to the property on the eastern side is 30,000 acres of the Angeline conservation area. And then across the road, there's over 33,000 acres of the Sunklands conservation area. So you're talking like endless possibilities, and that would for surely be a great feature for an Airbnb, for some Airbnb cabin rentals. And then of course you have the RV hookups as well. So it's something that we have done. We've, done different kinds of rentals at home, and it sure has been sweet when we have paid for half or even more than half of our mortgage with those rentals. I mean, yeah, there's sacrifices to be made, and you do have to like clean up, not for the RV hookups. So that's just a pure sweet deal. Like that's just plug them in, plug them out, take your money. But the cabins you would have to clean. But what a sweet side hustle that your property can actually be paying for a portion of its mortgage. I love that. Let's talk more about what it means to be by this conservation, this huge conservation areas. So in Missouri, this is something that's very, very different than states like California. You actually can use state lands and conservation areas. Like they're human friendly, which is so cool. We were blown away to see all the different ways that people use conservation land. Gathering mushrooms, hunting, getting firewood, ATV trail rides, horse trail rides, and the list kind of goes on and on. It's really amazing because that is kind of not as easy in California. In fact, there's places where it feels like humans aren't allowed. And so pretty cool that's here. And at least the Angeline conservation area, which is the 30,000 that borders to the east, the current owners have cleared the trails and they're gorgeous. We actually rode for a bit in their ATV and they're just wonderful. And ATVs aren't my thing. It's nice to sit there, but I just was imagining getting to ride them on a horseback and just how absolutely fun that would be. This is like my nerdy thing, is one of my dreams is to do horseback archery, and I got the bow. It's amazing. I've got all the setup and was practicing the release. It's not easy. It's actually the most complicated thing I've ever done in archery. It's just next level. Like it makes like long bows and like primitive style bows seem super easy. If you're interested in archery, watch the release that horseback archers do. There's a couple different ones. There's like 3 main ones that they use, but it is some like quick and complex movement with your fingers. And yeah, I was just getting comfortable with it, and then life happened. But it's something that I want to do. But on these trails, like, I couldn't help but think about it because they were like perfectly have like little hills that you could shoot into safely. They just were perfect. And that's all I was thinking about, is how they were like set up as like perfect horseback archery courses that you could safely shoot into the ground in the hills. That's what I would do. But for you avid hunters, I mean, how amazing would it be to walk out your backyard and there's that hunting ground? Like, pretty phenomenal. Yeah, I just think that like having that kind of proximity where it's just not such a like big arduous trip that you have to do where you're like going hunting. It's like backyard, 30,000 acres that way, 30,000 acres that way. Like, you're good. Your freezers are going to be full forever. So I mentioned previously that the location of this property is ideal, and that's because it's situated between the Ozark Scenic Riverways, which also has its own trail system, tens of thousands of acres of conservation land with trails and roads, and multiple renowned springs. And what makes it even more special is that these iconic destinations are accessible through trails that are adjacent to this property. My two personal favorite are Alley Springs and the Current River. The Current River is just my all-time favorite river, and that's because it's the most spring-fed of all the Ozark rivers. It's fed by Montauk, Welch, Pulltight, Cave, Big Blue, and Round Springs, just to name a few. And this means that the Current River, it always has beautiful, clear, cool water. It's incredible. My other favorite location close to this property is Alley Springs, which is a gorgeous spring. It produces over 80 million gallons a day, but it's also a historic mill, which is open to tourists and just such a fun time. So you can see why this location is really just so ideal for so many different reasons. The house is really sweet and simple. It's just kind of a basic farmhouse, but has had some updating. The kitchen has been, fairly recently remodeled. They just remodeled one of the bathrooms. The master bedroom was previously a garage turned into master bedroom with a huge walk-in closet, but kind of the defining feature of that room is a gorgeous brick fireplace, wood burning stove. So, a big room where you've got room for that king size bed, and then you're watching like a fire in the winter. And I love that. The rest of the house is really simple, but really just nice, nice quality, beautiful hardwood floors, great metal roof. So you don't have to really worry about the hailstorms. And yeah, the whole farm is just nicely kept, well maintained, and fully functioning, having everything really that your heart could desire, whether it's hobby farm, equestrian retreat, side hustle with RV hookups and potential Airbnbs, or if it's hunting and the trail rides that really are your passion. Yeah, I just absolutely love this location, and you just feel absolutely at peace when you're there. All right, you guys, that wraps up our video for the day. Give me a call, especially if you want to go see this equestrian hobby farm. We will go do a showing, and then I'd love to take you at least into the Angeline conservation area so you can just see how absolutely amazing the backyard extra 30,000 acres are. And then remember, across the street and then one parcel over is another 33,000 acres. So much to explore out there. And otherwise, you guys, as always, all my information is in the description. Feel free to reach out to me any way that you like. If you got any value or interest from this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow and to get this out to more people like you that like freedom, adventure, and rural life. See you guys next time. Bye.